Konnichiwa, my little Blinians. How have you been? I hope you had a good week. Mine was okay, except for the fact that Monday was the only day that was sunny in New York, and then the entire rest of the week was cloudy and rainy. So that put a quote-unquote damper on my mood, so to speak, but it's all good now. It's so nice and sunny outside. It's beautiful. It almost feels like spring. For real. So, something has been on my mind lately, and I felt the need to get this off my chest. So, if you don't know, my absolute favorite YouTubers in the entire internet world are Dennis Not on Fire and Amazing Phil, aka Dan Howell and Phil Lester. They are my baes, so to speak. They are currently on holiday in Japan right now. And I've been following them on Twitter and Instagram, catching glimpses of their pictures, and just getting the sense that they are having an awesome time, which I am so glad that they are. The only thing is that it's making me feel very sad, and it's making me feel very homesick for Japan. Just to give a little insight into myself, I actually lived in Japan for a total of 9 years. In my youth. The first time my family and I lived there was from the ages of 3 months old to 7 years old. And so that was the first time we lived in Tokyo. The second time that we lived there was when I was a bit older, specifically when I was 13 and 14, during my middle school years, aka the worst years of my life. So put them together equals 9 years total that we lived there. And we left 14 years ago to come here to the United States. And we haven't been back since. In general, I've missed it as time went along, but it didn't become such a huge problem in that it constantly occupied my thoughts and kind of prevented me from, living life, so to speak. I've noticed during the last few months or so that whenever something Japanese related is mentioned to me, I will just droop like, a flower that is wilting because it doesn't have any water. Very simple, innocuous things like
Japanese performances that take place in the surrounding area that I live in, the cherry blossom season that takes place during the spring, with its most famous locations for people to look at in Washington, D.C., Newark, New Jersey, and of course, Tokyo, JP. Even bottles of soy sauce are enough to set me off.
And I've been craving Japanese food so much. I'm very surprised that the very molecules of my skin haven't turned into rice grains yet, with all of the rice I've been consuming. I can't even watch Japanese anime and films anymore because I will actually dissolve into tears. I will start crying. I will start getting so depressed, and I just miss it so much. The best memories I have of my life are in Tokyo, nestled there in my preschool and my kindergarten years. The times when my family and I would go to crazy shops in the city, or go to temples and resorts in the countryside. And when the 2011 tsunami, earthquake, and nuclear meltdown thing happened a few years ago, I was devastated. I spent countless hours flipping through photos and videos that just showed the complete devastation, and I just could not help myself. And naturally, I was distraught and horrified and devastated by the whole thing. Because Japan is like a second home for me. It's where my childhood resides. And to see it destroyed by nature in such magnitude, I mourned on behalf of all the Japanese people. Unfortunately, it hasn't all been too negative. There are times like today when I feel fine, wearing my yukata. So If you don't know, a yukata is like a robe that you especially wear during like the spring and summer months when, to keep yourself cool. I've had this yukata since I was 13. It's one of the few clothes that I have from Japan that is still in my possession and that I'm still able to wear, very importantly. I remember when I was small, it kind of, I felt like I was wearing a tent, but it's handmade in Japan and it's so beautiful and I'm so happy to wear it. I also am wearing this awesome t-shirt that my mom bought me. If you can't see it, it's the image of Totoro from the Hayao Miyazaki / Studio Ghibli film My Neighbor Totoro. And here in Japanese lettering it says My Neighbor Totoro. My mother actually told me what it said in Japanese, like she said it out loud in the Japanese pronunciation, but I can't remember it at the moment because she at least remembers some Japanese from when we lived there, but I've more or less forgotten everything but the very basics. I also would be wearing my folded paper crane earrings, but I can't find them at the moment. They are somewhere amongst the mess in my room. So much for having a complete outfit, but it happens. I actually broke down to my father yesterday, telling him about how I'd been feeling lately. We haven't been back since we left. 14 years is a long time to be away from a place that you love so much and spent a good chunk of your life in. So I told my father and he told me, we'll make it happen. We will go back. I feel the same way and your mother feels the same way. It's been far too long. At some point when things have quieted down for us, because right now things are kind of crazy for the entire four of us, then we will make a trip back to Tokyo at some point. Or just in Japan in general. I'm sure we'll probably do what my family likes to do, is to do one gigantic road trip all around the country. So we might do that for Japan. That stilled my heart and helped me feel a little bit better. In the meantime, though, whenever people mention about Japan or I hear something from Japan, I just miss it so deeply. It's like an old friend to me, a friend that I have not seen in so long, and think about and wonder about how it's doing, what's happening, and yeah. I believe that out of all the countries that I've lived in throughout my life, I love Japan the very most. I love the culture, I love the people, I love its tendency towards the weird and the strange and the quirkiness, and just everything about it. It's so unusual and it's so chaotically awesome. It's just the best. For me, anyway. I very well understand that there are people out there with different opinions, which I perfectly respect. So yeah, I know that we will return someday, even if it's just for a visit. I'm not sure if I would want to live there again because I've already kind of decided that I would love to make New York City my home. But at the same time, that's the unpredictability of life. You never know where you're going to end up. I could end up in New York, or I could end up moving to LA, or I could end up moving to London because of two certain British guys, hint hint, or who knows, maybe once I meet my future true love and they get a opportunity that requires them to move to Japan and I love them that much that I will move with them, then who knows? Maybe I might actually go back to Japan. So even though I have made the decision that I want to make New York my home, I'm still going to try to be open to the many possibilities of the world and of the universe. Because that's how it is. You never know what's going to happen. So yeah, thank you for allowing me to pour my heart out to you and to letting you in to a tiny part of my identity. And I want to open up a discussion. Do you love Japan? Have you ever visited it? Or have you lived there too? Was it the best time of your life? Was it the worst time of your life? I want you to tell me whatever you want. So feel free to comment down below. Or even if it's not about Japan, maybe there's another country out there that you've always wanted to visit, or you have lived in and you had the most amazing experience of your life. So feel free to jot that down too. And as always, if you like my content, you are more than welcome to subscribe and to keep up to date with what I'm up to. Follow me on Twitter and follow me on Yuna, where I do a live show every single week. Details will be below this video. So a very important note, next weekend there will be no new video because I will actually be away. I'm going to be going to Providence, Rhode Island for something very special, which I might make a video of. I'm still trying to decide, but very possibly. I will still film myself doing stuff while I'm there, and if I do make it into a video, that will be the new video for the weekend after that. And very potentially a double feature if I feel up to it. I'm not making any promises, but I just wanted to let you know what was coming up. So yeah, I hope you have a very good week, and thank you very much for tuning in. And I shall see you in 2 weeks. Until another time. Sayonara!